Ollie Pope will captain England for the Test series against Sri Lanka after Ben Stokes was ruled out for the remainder of the summer with a hamstring injury. Let's get more on this with the former England coach and Sussex head coach Paul Farbrace, who joins us live right now. Paul, very good afternoon to you. I mean, Ben Stokes is such a big character, isn't he? And, of course, the captain of the Test team. How would you sum up how big a blow it is to lose Stokes for the rest of the summer?
Well, I think it's Stokes, the player, that's the biggest blow. And I think, you know, from his point of view, he's worked so hard after his knee injury, his knee operation, to get himself fully fit. You know, he's now back bowling, he's charging around in the field, he's showing us everything that he is as an unbelievable athlete. So for him personally to miss this series is a huge blow. For the team, in terms of the balance, what he brings to the team as that genuine all-rounder, bat bowl fielder, you know, that's a huge loss. But I think in many ways, it will give him and Brendan McCullum the opportunity to look at somebody else captaining the team, and in Ollie Pope they've got an ideal replacement. But I think it's more the balance that they're going to miss. But the great thing is this team is so well set; they know how they want to play, they know the type of cricket they want to play, and I think as a result, you know, it may come at a time where it gives them a chance to have a good look at what they've got and how they're set up, really.
And in terms of the partnership that Stokes and McCullum have built since he took on the captaincy, very aligned in their approach to the game, very aligned in the way they wanted to play and the ethos they wanted to have. But when you got to know Ben Stokes, did you think he would end up being a skipper in that kind of mould and being as an inspiration as he has been?
Look, he's always been inspirational. He's always been the sort of person that, you know, you want him involved in everything that you do. He's a natural leader. When Ben goes to the gym, people want to go with him. When Ben goes to practice, people want to go with him. If he goes for a coffee, people want to go with him. That's always been the case with Ben. He's the sort of bloke that you want to spend time with and players want to spend time with. And that's why, I think more than anything, that's why he's been such a success as a captain, is that his personal skills and his ability to help people, understand people and get the best out of people, he's always done that. Whether he was a captain or not, he was always the person that spoke up in team meetings. He spoke up in dressing rooms at the end of the game. And he, you know, he was one of the first to, in the dressing room, disagree with some of the things that Trevor Bayliss as head coach said. And Trevor encouraged that. And when Trevor, a few years ago now, back in Bangladesh, Trev said on one of the tours to the England travelling media pack that Ben Stokes could be a future England captain, the media guys all laughed. And I think they thought that Trev was joking, but he's a natural leader. And these same guys now admit that actually Trev saw something in Stokesy that everybody saw from the point of view that on the field, we used to say to him, go where you think the ball's going to go. Just go where you think the ball's going to go. Be your own captain when you're fielding. If the ball's going to go to long on, get to long on. If it's going to go to gully, get to gully. And you know, we encouraged him to be that player. And I said when we moved him up to number 6, 2015 against New Zealand at Lords, we moved him to 6. And I said, the reason we did that, the more involved in the game he is, the more you get from Ben. So the more of an all-rounder position that he takes, you know, and the captaincy is exactly the same, the more you get from him. And the way that he captains the team on and off the field, it is absolutely unbelievable. But it's no surprise that the players love playing for him. And I think that there will be a big hole. And, you know, Ollie Pope's job is not to try and be Ben Stokes Mark II. His job is to be Ollie Pope Mark I. And hopefully Stokesy and Brendan McCullum will help him and guide him through this Test match series.
Yeah, I mean, look, you've painted a brilliant picture there, Paul, of how big these shoes are to fill. But ultimately, it's not that he wants to fill the shoes, he wants to wear his own shoes, he wants to be his own captain. What sort of leadership are we going to see from Ollie Pope, and how will that materialise, do you think?
Well, I think McCullum and Stokes have pulled off a genius move by making him vice-captain in the first place, because, you know, Popey isn't necessarily, you know, someone that you would look at as being a genuine captain. You know, he is growing in stature with every Test match that he plays. I think he's played, 46 Test matches now. And every Test match he plays, you can see that he's growing in stature. You know, there are 1 or 2 innings that he's played. The one in India was absolutely unbelievable innings. But what they've done is they've taken a younger player in and really taken him into the heart of the management and said, right, you're going to be our vice captain, which basically telling him you're going to play every single game. You're going to bat number 3. It's a tough place to bat, but you're going to bat 3, and you're the bloke that we're going to have at the, as a mainstay coming in at number 3 in our order. And then now the opportunity has arisen. I think Pope is the sort of guy, he's an intelligent guy. He communicates really well. He will want to captain the team how he wants to do it. But the great thing is the blueprint for the team and how they play is very much in place. And Brendan and Ben have put that structure, that dressing room way of being, so that they allow people to go and play how you've always wanted to play. Remember why you played the game in the first place and enjoy playing the way you want to play. But what they have also done now is actually they've been a lot smarter with the decision making, and I really applaud them for that, because it's one thing to say, go and play without fear. It's another thing to actually do it and actually have the confidence to go and do it. And that's what Ben has done brilliantly as captain. He went in and showed the players, play this way, and he showed them. And, he's never done anything that he hasn't done anything or asked his team to do something that he hasn't done himself. And I think from Popey's point of view, he's just got to keep the ship, going on a straight line. Brendan will be there to help him. And I'm sure Ben will be there in the background as well. But it's really important that Popey just is the person that he is. And he's a good guy. He's very popular in the dressing room. And he's a fantastic player who is developing with every game that he plays.
I just wonder, Paul, you mentioned that point about Ollie Pope playing at 3. And it's a position that Joe Root occupied for a short period of time as well. I wonder how much has that helped prepare him for the responsibility of captaincy? Because we know it's such a key position after you lost one of the openers to get England back on track. And it's something that England struggle with for a number of years, especially with, Joe Root coming in 2 down for not many on the board at 4. Yeah. So do you think that might in some ways have been part of the process? Almost like, right, let's play him at 3. He's going to have responsibility there. And then you build on that, vice-captain, and ultimately stepping in for Ben Stokes when he's injured.
Absolutely. You're spot on. And I think that shows you a lot about the psyche of Brendan and Ben, that they've identified that number 3 is a tough place to bat. And they've said to Popey, we want you to take on that tough role. And in return, we're going to make you the vice-captain. And by taking on the vice-captaincy, we're telling you that you're going to play every single game. Now, that's a fantastic way to handle a player who at times... at times he's still working his game out, even though he's played 40-odd test matches. But as I say, I see a huge improvement in him every time I see him play. And there's been a few times he's gone back to county cricket, and you can see now when he scores runs, wow, he's a completely different player. His technique is fantastic. He scores all around the wicket. He looks a lot calmer. And I think that's something that, he's obviously worked very hard on, at the start of his innings, to be calmer. And not to be quite so frenetic when he first goes in. And I think you can see that now in Popey, that he's getting to that stage. So I think you're right. I think they basically said, look, the best way to get the best out of him, we'll put him in that position of responsibility. And I think also, within this England team, that there's an awful lot about take your own personal responsibility and be supported for the decisions that you make. And I think that's the atmosphere, the environment that Ben and Brendan have created. And that's where, that more than anything else in international sport, to be able to create that environment for players to feel really comfortable, feel really loved and feel really wanted, is a huge step forward. And I think we're seeing that now in every other team. We're hearing John Lewis talking about that with the women's team, and the women are talking about exactly the same. So the knock-on effect that Ben and Brendan have had across the game of cricket in England is huge. And that's starting to seep down now into county cricket, because players are coming back from international, whether it's England Lions or the England senior team, and talking about that environment. And I think all of us coaches are asking, how are you doing it? What is it that you're doing? So the two of them have done a brilliant, brilliant job. And it's no surprise to see the England players playing as well as they have done.
And in terms of replacing Stokes, the player, England have got a few options here, because Stokes usually bats at 6. So does Jamie Smith move up a position, Wokes playing all-rounder batting at 7, and then 3 pace bowlers and Shub Bashir? Or can you see Jordan Cox potentially making his debut? He's been called into the Test squad for the first time. How would you imagine that they'll play this first Test against Sri Lanka?
Well, the only way you're going to replace Stokes is pick 3 different people, so you're going to have to play with 2 extras. That's the only way you're going to replace him. But look, and I've been in that position before when I was working in the England team and Stokes was injured. There was a few sleepless nights working out how you were going to get the permutation right. But look, I think they've got two and one off the wall way of going. And I wouldn't be surprised if they went the off the wall route. I'd never be surprised by anything that they decided. But I think you could quite easily have Cox at 6, Smith at 7, Wokes at 8, which would only give you 3 seamers. Or you move, you put Wokes at 7 and then play 3 seamers plus Wokes as the all-rounder. So Wokes takes on Stokes' role. Or the other option, which is a bit left field, but I've been trying to think in left field ways, is that you open with Chris Wokes. So Chris Wokes could actually open the batting, which would give you an extra seamer. Now, it may be that Dan Lawrence is already inked in to open the batting, but I'm just trying to think of a slightly off the wall way of how England might balance their team, because, they never surprise us, never stop surprising us with their decisions. And, what I really applaud about them is that they're picking people based on potential as opposed to what necessarily they might have done in county cricket or elsewhere. And I know that upsets a few people, but like Jamie Smith going straight in, I think it's a great idea. Shahid Bashir being picked as the spinner, fantastic. Absolutely love that. And I love watching him bowl. He's shown that he's a high quality bowler. So I think the obvious way, as I say, would be Smith at 6, Wokes at 7, or if you wanted to play the extra seamer and 4 seamers, then you just put Wokes in at 7 and Smith moves up to 6. But who knows with Brendan and Ben what they might come up with.
Oh, do you know what? That left field option, Paul, I love that. I love that as an idea. Just, always got to keep people guessing. Listen, Paul, sadly we've run out of time, but it's been so lovely to chat to you. Thank you, always, for all of your insights.
Have a good afternoon.
Yeah, you too. All right, thank you.